What's good? What's good, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of The Urban Platform Speaks. Make sure to like and subscribe as you come into the channel. Check out the content. And with that being said, I want to speak on like the the current condition of the NBA right now. Right, a lot of people are talking about like the decline and attendance and the decline in ratings and stuff like that. And also like the level of play, and they want to blame it all on the players, right? For instance, they want, like Kevin Durant and LeBron James, because those are probably like two of the bigger faces. They're the older guys in the league, and the bigger faces in the league. And I think that what I'm getting ready to say is, like, I think that is mainly, it falls on ownership and management. I think LeBron James and Kevin Durant were chosen because they're not as they're not like Kobe and Mike and the generation that came before them. And so you can you can mix in players from different countries that are not really up to past NBA standards and level, and you can mix those guys in with Kevin Durant and LeBron James, because those guys are not as aggressive. Like, take for instance, when you look at the Chicago Bulls when they went out and got Tony Kukoc, right? Michael Jordan wasn't for he wasn't for it for Tony Kukoc, and he didn't really him and Scottie Pippen didn't accept Tony Kukoc, and they gave him a hard way to go. And so then take into account, what's the other guy? Kobe Bryant. Like, those guys are just so competitive and so aggressive that, like, if you put lesser competition against them, they're going to destroy him. And LeBron James and Kevin Durant are not like that. Kevin Durant has, he always say that, all he want to do is hoop. He don't want no responsibilities as far as being a leader. Um, LeBron James, he's not like past generations. He been shipping around from team to team and stuff like that, chasing rings. So he's not really concerned with anything but himself and player empowerment. So LeBron James, in my opinion, has not been an ambassador for the game. He's just going along to get along so he can get what he want out of the game. And so that's why I think that those two guys, Kevin Durant and LeBron James, with their makeup, really fits what the NBA was trying to do as far as like expand the league and bring over those international players. And the reason why I say that is because, in my opinion, I don't the international players are not as good as like what the NBA, like what the product that the NBA used to put out years ago. For instance, the center position now in the NBA, like, is all gone. You don't have guys like Patrick Ewing, Shaquille O'Neal, Hakeem Olajuwon. Those centers like that. You can't have those centers, those kind of centers in the league with those, with the guys who are coming over. Those European guys could not compete with with those guys like Patrick Ewing, Hakeem Olajuwon, Dave Robinson. They couldn't compete with those guys. So you had to do away with that position. Then look at the power forward position. Like, you had at the power forward, you had guys like Charles Oakley, who else? Anthony Mason, Carl Malone. You know, again, like foreign born players can't. They wasn't. Who else? Terry Cummings, Buck Williams. I remember those guys. All those guys are just tough, physical, athletic guys, and so you never see European ball players like with that style of play. Of those guys. So all right, so now you have the center position from the NBA is wiped out. The power forward position in the NBA is wiped out. So now basically all you have in the league is you have small forwards and two guards, right? And you have the point guard position, but in order for a European player to be successful in the in the NBA, he has to be a big guard. Like you're not gonna have like a 6 foot, 6'1" guard come from and be the face of the league. I'm not saying that they can't compete, because every once in a while, but they're not going to be able to be the face of the league. And so that's why, the league had to they had to water those positions down so those guys can fit into the league, so those guys can play because contrary to what the league is saying, like as far as like they always say like, well, the rest of the world has caught up with American born players, and that's not true. That's not true. They had to change the game. They had to change the game so those guys can fit in. Um Guards, like American born point guards, it too fast, um, too skilled. That is like that is as a matter of fact, that's the toughest position to like if you trying to be a guard, that's the toughest position to like to catch on with a team because you just got so much competition. Anybody from say like 6'3" and under. That's like a lot of competition. And you got guys that just fast, can handle the ball, can shoot, they athletic, can jump out of the gym. And the European, most of these foreign-born ball players are not like that. You know what I mean? Like I said, you might have a one or two, but you can't have a guy that you're gonna feature. When you have somebody like Luka Doncic, or you could have the Joker, like those guys are big, so they have a built-in advantage because of their size. So if their size, if you put a one on Luca, he gonna tear him up. If you put a two on Luca, you know what I mean, like a two guard on him, and a small four, he gonna tear him up, right? But on the other end, they get exposed. So, like I said, back in they would not have been able to play their style of basketball back in the 80s and in the 90s. Even like when Kobe was playing and Shaq in the early 2000s, you can they wouldn't it just wouldn't work. And that's not to say like foreign born ball players, basketball players are just not like American born ball players. So um they had to water down the league for those, and so it's just not the same level of competition. And that's why people are not really tuning in, and they're not going to see the game because right now all you're getting is 3-pointers and dunks, and so Kevin Durant, there's nobody in the league right now, that really like challenges Kevin Durant. Not like he would have gotten challenged in the 80s or the 90s. Nobody in the league challenges LeBron like he would have got challenged in the 80s or the 90s or the early 2000s. You know, it's just not the same. And so, even when you seen Kevin Durant go up against, who was the guy he went up against? Jason Tatum. And once Jason Tatum got physical with him, it just kind of took Kevin Durant out of his game. And so, you know, back in the 80s, the 90s, and the early 2000s, that's all he would have seen was just, that physicality, and so it's not the same game. And all of this falls at the foot of the NBA owners and the people who run the NBA because they noticed they made these adjustments to the game so this game would be it was all about money. So this game would be more appealing to um to foreign countries, right? If you got if you're represented, the foreign countries are represented by, guys who are playing, like Luca, his country, the Joker, those guys. So you see your country is well represented by those ball players, but their level of play is not the same. And so that's why you can have Kevin Durant and LeBron James, in my opinion, be the face of the league because they are not going to challenge that, but and all the guys who would challenge that and they just kind of just like moved them out of the way. You know, you can't have like a Charles Oakley in there and you know, Anthony Mason. You can't have those kind of guys around now. You can't have Kevin Willis, Terry Cummings, and all those guys used to be physical and athletic, and those foreign born ball players, they're just not as physical, not as athletic as those guys who used to do it in the back in the day. And so that's my take on it. I'm gonna make some, you know, I'm definitely gonna make more videos about this topic because the, and all the blame is gonna really fall on the players. LeBron James, it's gonna fall on players like LeBron James and Kevin Durant, because if this experiment don't work, like right now they're talking about, oh, we can't motivate these guys and we can't get these guys to play hard. And if any if you have ever had a job and you know one thing your boss can do is to motivate you and to get you to work hard. You know, I don't care how much money you making. They can, you know, they can always find a way to motivate you, incentivize you, and to get you to work hard. So that's nonsense, you know. And the NBA is no different from no other any other work environment. If they want you to work hard, they can make things difficult for you, as though either you're going to work hard or you are going to be out of the league. So when people say, all right, well, it's the players, they're not motivated, they're not working hard. It's the league. You know, the league made it um the league has just made it, you know, easier for them to just lay back and shoot threes and or even dunk. You know, it's they just not playing basketball. And so that's why I think that, you know, LeBron James and Kevin Durant was chosen for this because they don't challenge that status quo. You, like I said, you couldn't have a Kobe Bryant or any of those guys, not just the superstars, but you like any of those guys who played in the early 2000s and further back. They just would dominate, and it wouldn't even be, you know, those guys wouldn't be able to survive that. And so that's my take on it. With that being said, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will check you all out in the next video. Also, leave a comment. Thanks.